What's going on, everybody? Kriddle here, back again with another Fortnite Save the World weapon review. Today, we're going to be talking about the Hemlock. If you don't already have this weapon, you can come over here to the item shop, come down here to Winter Llamas, and grab yourself a Winter Llama for 500 Snowflake tickets. These are only available during the winter event, so grab it while you can. But let's jump up here to Armory, go to Schematics, and jump down here to our Hemlock and check it out. Mine is perked up to a 106 Shadow Shard, and mostly for crit, but there's a couple different ways you can go on this weapon, but we'll go over that in a second. Let's start with our 6th perk first. There are 4 perks on here that I would recommend. There's the Snare, which I have, the Affliction, which I also recommend quite often, but most of the time I recommend those two because the 5th perk has an additional 45% damage to Afflicted or to slow and snare targets. This weapon does not have that, so there's 2 other perks that are actually new that came in during the winter event that are fantastic for this weapon. The first one we're going to talk about is 3.5% more shield per shot for 5 seconds, and it stacks up to 10 times. And being that this weapon does have a 9.9 fire rate, that makes that ability very, very good. The second one is crit regain, which is on a crit, you regain 2.64% of your shield based on the amount of damage you're doing. So 2.64% of the damage goes into your shield. You have to have lost shield to gain that, whereas the 3.5% damage per shot or shield per shot is actually added to your shield. So I think that that's probably the better way to go. I do have Snare on mine, as I like to have Snare on these weapons for like when a Smasher is charging at you. But again, it's all a matter of preference. You could go with Affliction to have a little bit more damage over time after you shoot it. So you guys choose which one you want, but any of those 4 will work. So let's go ahead and look at this weapon. Let's start out with the 2nd perk on here because this one is probably the easiest one to talk about besides the element. But the 2nd perk on here, I would either go with magazine size or reload speed. Those are always 2 good options depending on your play style. Magazine size for taking out the larger husk, reload speed if you happen to be hitting that reload button very often. Generally speaking, durability and weapon stability are not the way to go. Durability is only going to help you out in saving a little bit of materials, and you can always just craft another one if you run out of, if your weapon breaks. And then you have stability on here, which generally doesn't help too much with aiming, and it's just generally not a good way to go. But these 2 are pretty much the same, going with magazine size or reload speed, so it's totally up to you which way you want to go with it. As far as the first perk, you could go a couple different ways here. You could go with just damage, or you can go with fire rate. Those 2 are both very viable if you go with headshot damage and headshot damage down here. So you could, if you wanted to play something like an urban assault, you could go with headshot damage here, headshot damage here for 80% total headshot damage, and then go up here and add in some more damage or add in some more fire rate. So that is another way that you could possibly perk this entire weapon. But I think the best way to perk it is to go with a crit damage build. I do have mine with damage here, and I could switch mine to go crit damage, but I'm going to leave mine where it is right now to get a little bit more consistency. However, if you're trying to min-max this build, going with 1 crit rating here and then a crit damage here and a crit damage here is probably going to work best for you in the long run. If you wanted to be like me and you wanted a little bit more consistency and consistent damage, whether it crits or not, and get that 30%, you could do that. But I would definitely leave at least 1 crit rating and 1 crit damage in here to get a little bit extra DPS out of this weapon. As far as your element's concerned, it's totally up to you which way you want to go with it. I have mine as nature because I like to use a lot of assault rifles, and I try to spread those out between fire, nature, and water. This one I just happened to make a nature weapon. But let's go check out how I'm going to be playing with this weapon today, and then we'll jump into a mission. I will be using the Urban Assault subclass, which is generally what I use when I'm testing ranged weapons, because this one gives a very good rate of fire when you hit them in the head, and is just a better way to go when you're playing with most ranged weapons. I do have the Master Grenadier in my support slot to get the extra 24% assault rifle damage, since we are using an assault rifle. And I have double Agent Evelyn just because that's generally what I play with for the extra cluster bombs when I'm playing as a soldier. So that's what I'm going to be playing with. So let's jump into a mission and check this weapon out. All right, so here we are all loaded up into the mission. We've got our Hemlock equipped, and I've got to say this thing is one of the better looking weapons in the game. It just looks absolutely awesome, but that is not why we're here. We're here to test it out and see how it fires. So let's fire at this tree right here. The rate of fire on it, very, very fast. That could be a good and bad thing, as it will do a decent amount of damage, but it is going to use up quite a bit of ammo. So let's see how it does with range. We're getting about 75 there. We get about 75 there. And it's starting to drop off. It looks like about 68 there. See how much farther we can go back here before we fall off the edge. About 60 there. And let's see, right here, we were doing about 50 or so. So the damage does drop off pretty quickly once you get to about the 5 or so tile range. But you could still potentially use this at a longer range, but the control is a little bit more difficult. You might start losing some shots there, or missing some shots there as you're firing it. But let's go see how it performs in combat, because shooting trees, quite frankly, is not very difficult. So let's go find some husk and see what we can do with it. All right, we got ourselves a small little group over here. Let's start with this guy right here. Wow, he just actually took him out very quickly. Reload speed's not too bad on it. Let's see if we can take this taker out. Oh, we're getting blasted though. So let's see if we can take these guys out. Yeah, I mean, it takes things down very, very fast. Just, you know, laying down on that trigger and just unloading right on them. The things seem to die very, very quickly. And these are power level 100. I'm using the power level 106 weapon. So I would say that for taking down the little husk, this thing is absolutely amazing. But let's go see if we can find a smasher and really test it out. All right, we've got ourselves a smasher here, and he is looking pretty menacing. So let's see. Oh, he's going to charge at us. Let's let him go by, and then we'll try to unload on him. There's actually another smasher right up there, too, so we might be able to try them both out. Let's take this guy out right in the face, see how quickly we take him out. That's not too bad. We took him out in little over half a clip there, which is not that bad for this weapon. Let's go run over here. And let's try this one out without shooting him in the face to see what we can do. Without getting those headshots, it took almost one full clip. So that is not that bad. This is actually a very, very good weapon. It does fire very, very fast. But let's go and have our final thoughts on this weapon. Well, there you have it. That is the Hemlock. And my final verdict on this weapon, it is a very, very good assault rifle. There are a couple of changes that I would make to mine if I were you leveling it up right now. I would definitely not go with the slow and snared, as it didn't seem to come in handy very much at all when I was using it. I would probably go with the additional 3.5% shield per shot, which stacks up to 10 times, and it lasts for 5 seconds. I would definitely go with that down here, as that's probably the better way to go with that high fire rate. I would also probably change this perk down here, instead of having 30% more damage, to just go with that extra crit damage and get 135% more crit damage down here on this 5th perk. That would probably increase the DPS just a little bit and would really make this weapon shine. I probably would keep it at the magazine size. However, going with that reload speed could also be beneficial, as even taking out a smasher only took about half of my magazine. So you could probably go with that reload speed and still be able to take a smasher out in one clip and then reload and get this reload down to almost 1 second. So that would be a very, very good way to go with this weapon. But anyway, that is it for the video. If you guys want to try this this weapon or any other weapon out in the game, you're welcome to come to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/KriddleCraddle, where I stream 6 days a week, every day except for Friday. And I will make this or any other weapon in the game for you to try out before you spend all of that XP and all those perk ups and re-perk on it, so that you can make sure you're getting a weapon that you would like. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time.